sure that, this time of year when the weather is getting nice or should be getting nice in many places around the world, ice cream stores and business is usually just beginning to boom for Jeni. So I'm sure that this is a tough time for that too. Talk to me about kind of the business and how are you caring for people and trying your best within all the people that love Jeni's, of just caring for
Yeah.
people and supporting people.
Well, I have always been a mission-driven person. I mean, I
Yeah.
think I think actually many of us are that way. I mean, maybe most of us are just born like you need to know sort of what you're here to do. And so that idea of like fellowship, pulling up together your team and being here for that sort of, I don't even go to the grocery store unless I know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing there. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it falls apart for me. You know what I mean? Um,
I do.
but like for the entire history of my company, we've had one mission. I mean, it's actually a twofold mission. It's make better ice creams, the idea of getting better every day, make better ice creams. In the beginning, I had to use, I didn't know how to make ice cream. And so it's just gotten better over time. But that's a metaphor for every single thing we do. It's just get better, push forward.
Yeah.
And then the other part of the mission is to bring people together. So we do it both behind the counter and how we do things, and then over the counter for you, for our customer. And it's a two-way conversation. And we know that every day when we go to work. For the first time in the history of our company, we actually changed the mission last week, and we changed temporary, but our mission is now safety, keep our team safe.
Yeah.
So we've created a buddy system. So we have a lot of people, team members who live alone,
Yeah.
so that we're able to keep in touch with them, make sure that people aren't alone during this, especially if you get sick. So our whole team, when you give us $1 now, we are focused on making sure that the people who work for Jeni's, who are a part of this team, whether
Yeah.
you're a grower or you're a team member, are safe. And that also, of course, includes in our stores, where we're doing a pickup, but we have a whole system of how you do that.
Yeah.
Um, and then the second part of our mission is to survive,
Yeah.
just to be here as a place that some of our furloughed workers can come back to.
Yeah.
And so that's it, safety
Yeah.
and survival.
Yeah.
No
doubt.
So everything that we are focused on every day when we go to work. So it's that mission. When you have a mission, you can clearly communicate and command, and then
That's right.
everybody kind of scatters and just does it.
Yeah, when I talk about with teams and organizations around culture shaping, I talk about how important it is to be able to articulate that mission. Because if we can't describe what it is we're trying to do and why we're trying to do it and where we're trying to go, then we can't be surprised when it doesn't exist. So we
can't live up to it ourselves. And I think
right.
the most important thing we can do as leaders is that every single time, I mean, obviously you're going to make mistakes, and that's part of being an authentic leader anyway. But you have to model it. And
Yep.
in order to actually have, because trust is everything. I mean,
No
I
doubt.
know that we don't have to do any training or very little to our frontline, team in the stores, because they trust the company and the organization they work with to make good decisions. When they hand you a scoop over the counter, that trust is love.
Yeah.
They're handing to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's where you get it, is by actually acting the way that when you say you're going to do something, you show up and do it, kind of thing. And throughout the whole company, but it starts in the middle and radiates out everywhere.
Absolutely. And so to keep people, I mean, again, the mission sometimes that you have to just get clear as to, hold on a second, in this time of crisis or this time of ambiguity, like you said, part of the courage is the first thing we got to do is we got to keep each other safe. And then I love that what you said is, and then we got to stay alive. We've got to stay around so that not only our people can come back, and that's part of the role that people like me and other people is like that love Jeni's ice creams, and then so that we can come back and we can have that ice cream. So I've got no doubts that somehow, I don't have all the answers, nobody does, but somehow there's going to be also good things that are going to come out of this situation that we're in right now. When you think about down the road, when you think about whenever that is, that ambiguous amount of time of when we quote unquote, come out of at least the social distancing, come out of the physical, distance from each other, we come back to this space now. What do you think are going to be some of those maybe positive unintended consequences that could come of this?
Well, I mean, I've been wearing sweatpants lately, and I'm now a sweatpants collector, so that's great. Somebody said I was reading some fashion something, that you can wear blazers with sweatpants, so at least there will be that,
yeah,
which will be really cool. I think that, first of all, this may not be where you were going with this, but it is true.
Take it wherever you want.
We've been in crisis before as a company. Every company will get there at some point if you're lucky enough to make it through, for a long period of time. But crisis really solidifies. It's almost like solidifying your values in fire. You know what I mean? It's like you're forging in fire. And so you can put together your teams and think that you're really awesome. But what will come for sure is for those of us that survive homage. Yeah. I did get some homage sweatpants.
Nice.
Which are awesome. See, somebody says this and I got distracted. But when you come out of it intact and having lived up to the values that you believed about yourself, you really do solidify these teams. And like, it's such an important and difficult thing to go through, but you wouldn't wish it on your worst enemy. And yet it's probably, in the end, like the thing that makes you as a human. So when we come out of this, we are going to be better people. Let's just kind of, I think maybe even a better society. Let's hope. I mean, I think that that's a real possibility. I mean, I really do. I think we'll value each other more differently. I think maybe we'll value touch, hugs, eye contact.
No doubt.
I mean, who knows, but I think so. Mm-hmm. And then, there'll be some things like, I love the idea of schooling this way, some of it at least. So maybe there will be a way to restructure some of that. Maybe it needed that. Maybe it needed some thinking along those lines, and it forced us to do it now. Maybe that's not a terrible thing. And then, the work remotely, I think it's wonderful. We've been sort of playing with it at Jeni's for a long time, but I think it's really great. And we were forced to test it on a grand scale, and it's kind of cool.
No, absolutely. I think there's that forced innovation piece of all of this and educators for sure are being forced. Teachers and educators that for years have been hearing about this idea of 21st century skills and 21st century learning environments and how to use technology and all this, and some of which have been skeptical or try. Now they've been forced to kind of come into it. And it doesn't mean that that's going to be the floodgates are open and now that's the only way to do it. But it requires us all to flex new muscles and learn new ways of doing it. And certainly many of the teams and organizations that I'm involved with right now, that's part of the thinking too, is people are looking at it and saying, we're starting to learn that maybe we can communicate from distance and actually be efficient in some ways. And there's going to be some more effective innovation that will take place because of our ability to now be virtually. And then on the human side, I absolutely agree with you. I think there's also going to be this moment that's it's showing us all how important it is to be in relationship with one another and to connect with one another in person too. And so the power, I go to tons of events where people gather together in companies and organizations, and the power of congregating. That's the thing that continues to come up to me, is that there's power in congregation. And so I think we're going to appreciate that more, that when we get an opportunity to be together, we're going to be appreciative and more grateful for that.
Yeah, I think. Totally agree. I think that, in crisis it forces you to consider things that you may not have considered before. And I actually, we're going to find some new, learn so much about ourselves and probably things that we can't even imagine right now, but that's kind of the exciting part. We got to get everybody better right now though, and get this vaccine.
No doubt.
Antibodies or whatever it is. And then it's going to be interesting few years. But I do think one thing I will definitely say though, is that it's going to take longer than what we think it's going to take.
Yep.
I mean, not knowing anything, internal about what's going on, and, you don't have to know anything to know that this is big, and big things don't get solved overnight. It's going to take a long time. So that's okay. We're in it together.
It requires us to sit in that ambiguity, because every process, and we as humans, especially in the digital age that we've now become accustomed, where we have everything at our fingertips so quickly, is realizing that processes take time. And then being comfortable and allowing ourselves to walk that process, that it does usually take longer amounts of times than we want it to. And so I think it's going to take extreme patience and also diligence for us to keep each other healthy, and especially right when we start to think we've got it under control, to make sure that we don't jump back into things too quickly. I think that's going to be a big key.
And
as well.
I'm also a vision-led person. I like to think 5 years from now, what's it like? I like to think in the future and really meditate on that. And this is a good time to be doing that. What do you want to look like in 5 years? And continue to do that as we get through this crisis as a community and as a country and as a world, to think about what am I going to be doing in 5 years? What am I going to look like in the future? Because I think that sets your sort of beacon, that you start to march toward. And I think it for many of us, it'll be a swerve from where we were before this crisis.
Yeah, the pivot points that I think are going to come from for this individually.
I mean, that's true of us as a company. We're already talking about how can we, like, what's going to be different. You know, you're sort of like projecting, telescoping what you sort of your beliefs right now out into the future, and what is going to be different, and how can we support this new world with what we're doing. I mean, what are the opportunities there?
Yeah, and I'm convinced of this, as I know you think this way as well, but nobody has all those answers, and nobody can see the future, you know, perfectly. But it's the individuals and then the teams and organizations that are committed to try to do that visioning, and then get clear on, well, how can we add value to that, and what's our contribution to this evolving vision? The ones that go on that journey together are the ones that are somehow, you know, we're going to stumble into some things and figure out some good things to contribute. And it's the ones that,
and not be afraid to kill your, you know, your favorite projects that you'd been working on or whatever. Maybe it's time to move on.
That's right.
Yeah. That was, you know, that's the hardest part when, you know, in our 2015 crisis, like, but when I realized, like, there's only a few things that I actually have to do, and that this organization actually has to do to bear my name. Like, what are they? Everything else can change, you know? Yeah. And when you realize that, then you're like, holy cow, we don't have to do that and that and that. We should do this. You know what I mean? Yeah. You just think differently about it.
And the things that grip us usually in that ambiguity, which are fear and doubt, you know, fear and doubt and fear of, like, letting go of something, you know, that's always been, or what's to come, or the doubts that can we do it or not. When we let go of that, what ends up emerging, what you're describing, is that there's opportunity, and we're actually liberated from that old thing, and which creates space then for, well, what are we going to become? And
absolutely, which is the coolest thing about life, I think.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's art.
That is art. Well, I'll share with you that one of the forced innovations, and I believe art, one of the ways we've been doing a lot of cooking around our house, also just and because you have time and you know doing more things, and we like to do that. But our middle child, Benton, who I know you know, he's a little funny, you know, creative entrepreneur. But I'll tell you that one of the things that he tried to make was ice cream, and he made a chocolate ice cream. And I'll just tell you that by the look at his face when he took the first scoop, you're safe. You're for now. You are all right. Your product is safe for now. But I thought you'd get a kick out of that he's been trying to create and make some ice cream. Well,
I'm gonna have to give him my recipe is what I'm gonna have to do, because he should be making ice cream. It's really fun. I'm not worried. It still takes a long time to make. But I can definitely get him some great recipes.
Awesome.
It's so much fun to make ice cream, especially if you're a kid. I mean, you can tell stories of the neighborhood. You can tell stories of your family, of your heritage, of your travels through all of these, through ice cream and flavors. I think it's not flavor. Ice cream isn't flavor. It's a feeling. I mean, that's really how I see it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I'd love to hear the stories that he wants to tell through his, you know, the chocolate he chooses, or maybe what he wants to put in it, or other flavors that he starts to make.
Yeah.
But you should start with my recipe, because you can't mess that one up.
We'll start there. Well, thank you so much for jumping on and doing this. I think it's fun, you know, just to connect. And again, the purpose of this for anybody out there who's listening was just to provide a little bit of positivity, to spread some positivity, do our part. To talk about caring for other people in the midst of this, and to not we have to be obviously real about the challenge that's in front of everybody and the crisis that we're in, but we also can't let it overwhelm us, that we have to care for other people and to support people. And we do that through relationships and through teams and organizations, community, and our world. So awesome to talk with you and to connect. So thanks for jumping on here and just reconnecting.
So fun. I'll see you out on the street.
You got it. All right. Everybody say goodbye to Jeni. Thank you, Jeni.
Bye, guys.
See ya.